Never before have we had so much education, so much funding for the arts, so much cumulative knowledge and technology, and it really shows in modern art, especially corporate art and the nullification of cultural relevance from the corporations that are part of our society. Thank goodness we have been educated and diversity, equity, and inclusion from the problematic past, where we had visual and thematic style at places we spend our time, but that's fixed now. Corporate art is all diversely the exact same. Ever since these cultural vampires wormed their way into positions of corporate and marketing power, we have seen logos, mascots, the art and architecture of these major businesses all mulched into a muddy stew of diverse sameness. Thank goodness it is impossible to tell the difference between a fast food joint aimed at kids and family and a hardware store where you buy wooden drill bits. Cracker Barrel made the rounds after removing the Southern aesthetic because if you live in the South, you are problematic. If you sit at a wood table on a wood chair, that's slavery and all right supremacy. If you put building tools on your walls, well, you know what countries build things? Bad countries. No, we need everything to look like a bottling factory's food court. Bolted down metal stools and counters so nobody can swipe the furniture? Sure, today it's the Cracker Barrel, but this has been going on for decades now. The slow, methodical draining of anything vibrant or colorful from society so it can be replaced by these hideous block buildings, block furniture, paint by numbers commercials, and block logos. They keep crying about being replaced by AI, but even the Terminators would all that for themselves if they had to look at this garbage every day. Every part of corporations, inside and out, is now sterile and soulless. And before you start to think, well, yeah, but who looks to corporations for culture? We do, unfortunately. Corporations own all the entertainment spaces from toddlers to seniors. But when you go to a workplace, a school, a hospital, a prison, they're all the same. Every single interesting visual aspect of the world has been leached out, as if they had designed all these spaces to be interchangeable. As if the planners expect to be told your kid's elementary school is going to be closed down and reopened as a high-security penitentiary, and they'll only have 2 weeks to fully convert it. Which may have some kernel of truth. There is very likely a mix of expectations that any business is short-lived today, that your fast food joint is on the verge of being sold to an office supplies business, so keep that real estate marketable and interchangeable. And weighing in at $500 billion deficit, the crushing weight of government regulations, safety requirements, and building limitations forces everything towards a more and more sterile, inoffensive, appropriate for everyone, but exciting for nobody future. Corporations own and control all of our entertainment. All major franchises, they make the biggest films, they make the biggest games. But what about indie and AA game makers and comic book writers and influencers? Surely they're outside of that. Well, guess who owns Patreon, Kickstarter, Twitch, YouTube, Steam? We live top to bottom in a corporate world, and what we see in logos and the Cracker Barrel may look different in a game, but it is still there. It has all been debulbed, snipped at the creative tip of free thought and expression. What is happening in schools, restaurants, and parks is happening in factory manufactured annual releases, culturally sensitive sports teams, and your MCU hero movies. The goal is to make everything ugly, repetitive, uninteresting, modernist, and demoralizing. Like looking at a liminal space, the purpose is to reduce culture to a blank page where nothing exists other than the words of the party. It is systemic, activist thugs that allow no discourse or disagreement, who consider microaggressions a capital offense. Does anyone look at this stuff and wonder why we have a mental health crisis and a population crisis? Not saying we have peak loneliness and depression because McDonald's dropped the playpens and became indistinguishable from a dentist office. But, however, when you look at all this in the broad context, and you see this happening everywhere to everything all the time, is it not a symptom of a greater problem with society? Humans need entertainment. We sometimes call this a luxury good, as it is not on the same immediately evident level of necessities that food, shelter, water are. But the same people who will call internet access, a phone, public transit, post-secondary education, condoms a human right that the government must supply, are the ones behind this brutalization and desecration of art and culture on a global level. Entertainment is a necessity, one that has been deliberately denied and blunted. If you put someone in a solitary cell with only food and water, that would be called a human rights violation. Torture. Even if every need is met, we need more to mentally survive. Many animals die in a cage, even if they're well provided. There is nowhere fun anymore. There is nowhere with artistic diversity due, ironically, to the crusade of the DEI corporate elites. Put 5 different restaurant chains in front of you without the words in the logo and just try to guess. Because you're looking at an Office Depot, Big Life Insurance, and copy printer land. And you never even knew. We are at the peak of mental health education and training. We have the most diverse artistic landscape in history. And this is what we are getting. Stale logos, sameness, words on a bubble, boring architecture, interiors with zero class or charm. This is killing us as a society and killing us individually. We are being physically and mentally worn down by the brutalism and culling of all expression at the hands of global elites. Anything with a bit of identity is hammered down to be like everything else. We have peaked in mental health care capabilities. So why are we also at our worst mental health? Everything is more dire, more unstable, less friendly, more isolated and lonely than ever before. There's a looming fog of dread hanging over all of us that was not there mere decades ago. We have every type of epidemic when it comes to mental health going on, all at the same time. This should logically be an anomaly, but it is the norm. As our understanding of medicine grew, people died less of illness. As technology education grew, we got better vehicles, electricity efficiency. Internet is faster and spread wider. Yet, mental health is the anomaly. It's working in reverse. We have more people educated in mental health supporting degrees in the arts and humanities than ever before, in more positions of power in entertainment, marketing, and corporate systems than ever before. And that has resulted in some of the worst mental health endemic issues in history. Let's pivot to video games, because it might manifest in a different way, but this issue is just as much of a problem with the same mental health damage in games as it is in other parts of our lives. How many games do you play these days that, despite graphical power being at its height, look the same? Can you tell the difference between the top 50 AAA games made with Unreal Engine 5? How many of these games with 8 or 9 digit budgets come and go, and nobody notices? It has zero cultural impact, no lasting footprint, and not only if it bombs, but even if it gets lauded as a commercial success. It all looks the same. It has the same story, the same characters, the same screaming angry lectures, the same feelings in coffee shops, the same social politics using beloved franchises as a skin suit, the same dumbed down journalist mode, combat, and cookie cutter crafting upgrades and gear systems. Perhaps a better question, as we talked about mental health and the bleached out culture of the West, what is the last movie or video game outside of AA and indie side titles where you felt uplifted? That motivated you, that made you feel pride in yourself, or gave you something positive to identify with, or get you pumped up to do better? What heroism and story impacted your life? What artistic style or landscape has left you awed and stuck with you? What has given you hope? Hope for society, hope for yourself, hope in humanity. Because more and more, it feels like modern art, as it appears in everything from architecture to corporate logos to the entertainment being made, hope is the enemy. The future is bleak. What from 2010 and 2020 has made a mark the same way Star Wars, Star Trek, Lord of the Rings, superhero comics from 50 or more years ago did? The negative themes and aesthetics of corporatism are the same in the buildings of your fast food restaurant as they are in your AAA studios. You cannot base an entire culture on doom. You cannot keep people mentally well if negativity thrives and blooms. The office-safe PowerPoint art meant to be as uninteresting as possible has become the norm. It broke containment, it drowned and stifled artistic risk and diversity on the altar of corrupt, government-funded DEI activism. There used to be color in the West in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. If you ever see those retro, old-time advertisements or films or showcases, yes. There's some ugly stuff in there like lime green shag carpets, but you ask someone who lived through that to identify some of the style of their era, they will know. Heck, even people born after know the styles of these eras. Do you know what the visual style of the 10s and the 20s are? We just lived through these. But does anyone have recognition of what they sounded like, what they looked like? Today, nobody wants to offend. Everything is made to be palatable for everyone. And the only way to do that is to drain the soul and life from everything. Back then, businesses weren't concerned about microaggressions or offending fat Karens. They were a bit edgy and rough. They knew in order to appeal to someone, you couldn't appeal to everyone. A Chuck E. Cheese wasn't there for a serious board meeting or stuffy satanic panic mums, but it was there for kids to be a kid. The drive-in theater, the bowling alley with those zany stripes and dots on the walls, a comic shop with wall-to-wall cutouts, posters and models. When you stepped outside of cubicle-lined boring office, high school, long shift on the assembly line, you could go for a bite, pick up something at the store, hit up the mall and go to a movie, and be in a different location every time. You would get an experience, you would be subjected to culture to break up your day. That mind that has been sleeping for the daily grind would wake up. If you have not yet liked, subscribed, and commented, now is the best time because today we unveil our beautiful new rebrand. Gone are the beautiful contoured death pit, the gladiator's arena of glory, the perfumed den of debauchery, the creepy necromancer's classroom. It will all be brought up to modern standards, clean and conformed, all to the specifications of our DEI consultant friends. But wait, there's more. For the first time ever, our brand new logo. How exciting. We got rid of the checkered green and purple, the hat and mask. There was just too much going on there. It was confusing the Karens. Isn't that a beaut? This really stands for everything we are here at. I don't believe it. This is what I get for contracting my art through a government outreach program. Those sons of a nurgling, they forgot the apostrophe. Well, we will be unrebranding. We're turning this car around and going home. Nope. Back to the old logo. The death pit will return. And to those fat whales in HR, I apologize for absolutely nothing.